somebody's got Facebook pulled up.
It wasn't me this time.
Sure.
It wasn't me.
It's usually Jason.
Yeah. Every time.
What is going on, everybody? It's another beautiful Thursday night.
It's gotten cold here.
Well, I
In
mean,
Florida.
relatively speaking, it's cold.
Well, let me see what the temperature is. Well, it says 67. I mean, was it last week when we were talking, it was like 84 or something, right?
Yeah, that's kind of cold.
It's been getting into like,
We've had some cold weather too. You can see a few of my wife's house plants behind me because we had to bring them in because we had a freeze warning a couple days ago. So, got a few new plants in the studio tonight.
I like plants.
Hell yeah.
I actually have 2 plants here in my place that have been alive longer than any plant I was ever able to keep alive in my addiction.
Nice.
I just didn't even try in my recovery for a while because I just thought I was a plant killer, but these dudes are hanging out. They like my energy.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done the whole plant thing, even in before active addiction, during, or post. It's just lots of work to water those things.
Nah, come on,
Yeah.
Ashley. You got plenty of time.
It takes so long to dump a little water at a few things.
I talk to them and everything. Like, hey, beautiful, how are you? Pouring water in.
I was
That's why
talking.
they thrive, man. That's why they thrive.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, like kind of on the same topic, about how like when I like first got into recovery, I was trying to find recovery, and then like during depression, like I wanted to like I got pets, a lot of pets, because you know you want to take care of them, you want the love and whatever. So maybe it's the same kind of thing. Like
But I was told you want to start with plants before you move up to pets, and definitely before you move up to like having a kid or starting a family. You know, make sure
I've
you
graduated
keep a
now
plant.
to people.
Hell yeah!
Have you seen that study on plants and music?
No.
They did this study back in the day where they had 2 environments right next to each other that were the exact same, and then they planted plants in them. And then, so it was the same environment, same plant, everything. On this side, they had a speaker, and on this side, they had a speaker. And on this side, they played classical music. And on this side, they played rock music, like super hard rock music. And on this side, the plant actually grew towards the speaker.
Oh,
And then on this side, it actually withered away from the speaker and died.
Wow.
Over a time lapse.
holy shit!
Yeah.
It's like on par with studies of like, children, you know, get involved in musical instruments and playing music and stuff like that.
Yep.
Wow, that's interesting, man.
Yeah.
There's some kids
Who
like
listens
even,
to rock?
I fucking hardcore.
I like rock.
I guess I should start listening to classical.
But I listen to everything though.
Yeah.
Do you listen to classical, Jason?
Yeah, I got plenty of it.
have you seen the kids that like they'll tell you, oh, I have to listen to music when I'm doing my homework or studying, and like, you know, we used to always say that's just a load of crap, like you just want to listen to music. But it's actually now been proven that like there's certain things, like some people with ADHD and other things, they actually can concentrate better with music going on.
I have to have music going on while I'm doing stuff.
I buy it.
Yeah. Like right before this, I was writing a script and I just have my lo-fi in the background. I have to put my phone away because if it dings and I'm like, oh, who is it? You know, so I have to turn all that off. So
Hell yeah. So you can focus.
yeah. And one of the best things, setting goals to classical music. Highly suggest.
I feel like focus has been a hard thing lately. That's been like the more that goes on, it's like hard to focus on the things you need to focus on, and maybe it's just me. But
What do you mean? Like what specifically?
like it used to be that I was really good at like doing a million things at once, but it seems like lately it's like I think it's maybe the higher level stuff you get involved in, you can't like shift from one to, but like there's times I have, like you said, you couldn't look at your phone. I have to like put my phone away and just ignore it, or I'll forget what I'm doing because like just switching from so many topics, it's like hard.
Yep. I have to have time blocks in my day, like focus time blocks that I'm doing certain things, and like put the phone away, and then make sure that it's in my schedule. Like I actually screwed up tonight because I didn't put something in my schedule, and I double booked after this. And I actually built a cold plunge. You guys know what a cold plunge is? So there's a lot of science and a lot of benefits behind cold plunging, where it's basically like a tub with really, really cold water. And mine's at like probably 35, 36 degrees. And then if you go up to your neck in a cold plunge for 3 minutes, like 3 or 4 times a week, there's benefits to anti-aging, mental focus, recovery for muscles, joints, bones, everything. Your immune system is ridiculously boosted, like you'll never get sick. And I just built mine here, finished it this weekend. I had one back in the States, but couldn't bring that down here. So
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up there and not in the United States, since you kind of made an easy adjustment to that, or in the transition?
Well, September 28th of 2008, I'd been out partying and drinking like most nights of my freshman year of college. And I woke up to my phone ringing and vibrating down by my leg. And I swam through the soft sheets to find my hard phone with the bright screen that read 4:47 a.m. And my best friend Chucker was calling me. And I remember having the conscious choice that I could either answer the phone like I always do with, "Hey, what's up, Chuck?" Or I could answer the way I was feeling with, "Hello." And in my still drunken state, I chose the latter, to which a soft voice replied, "Hey, what's up? Why are you calling me this late?" "I was just calling to say hi." "Don't call me this late again." And I hung up on him. And he shot himself.
Oh, fuck.
And for nearly a decade after that, I was unable to share that phone call with anyone, as I bottled it down deeper and deeper and deeper with drugs and alcohol. Before that event, drugs and alcohol were just a way to party and have fun. You know, I was an athlete in high school. I went to Columbine High School, was captain of the state championship football team, captain of the wrestling team. But after this event was when I actually consciously began using drugs and alcohol to cope with life, to cope with the way that I felt, to mask my emotions. And it just got deeper and deeper and deeper. Shortly after that, I found OxyContin and was able to procure a prescription from doctors for 250 milligrams a day at 19, 20 years old.
Jeez.
And then when that ran out, I found heroin. And we can skip over all that stuff because we all know where that kind of takes us. But I don't know if you guys have seen, but on November 6th of 2015, I was found unresponsive behind the wheel of a car from an overdose. And I have the body cam footage of it. They found me. They couldn't get breath or pulse, and they pull me out, and they're doing sternum rubs and everything. And this was before they had Narcan. So I was really, really lucky that, you know, God decided to put a breath in me, and I sat up and just, but the weird thing is that I've learned is like there isn't a specific event for someone like me that is able to cause me to want to get sober bad enough. There's no one thing that happens, because I suffered for 2 more years after that. 2 more years exactly, actually, because November 6th of 2017 is my clean and sober date. And the way that it happened, I was homeless. I was 86 from a homeless shelter, so I was super homeless. And I was at the point where they that homeless shelter, they did lunch and breakfast every day, and not just for the people that lived there, but like for anybody out on the streets that wanted to come in. And like a week after I'd been kicked out, I went to get lunch because I was hungry, you know, and the guy managing came up to me in line and kicked me out, told me I couldn't be there. So I had a really low bottom, 148 pounds. I'm 210 right now, and nearly dead. And I was sitting in a car before a Bible study one night, because this whole time, like 3, 4, 5 months while I'm homeless, I'm going to 2 12-step meetings a day. I'm going to Bible study every Tuesday, church every Friday, every Saturday. I even went to an MMA gym for a little while thinking they might be able to beat recovery into me, but nothing was working. And then before this Bible study, I was sitting in the car and I had like realized that, you know, I've tried everything. I've literally to this point, I've tried everything to get clean and sober and I can't. So I sat back in the chair and I told God, I'm done. I'm not going to this Bible study. I'm not going to church. I'm not going to these meetings. Please just let me die.
Mm.
And I know that, you know, people that relate to that, you know, almost every alcoholic, almost every addict has been at a point at this crossroads where, you know, they don't want to live anymore. They don't want this life anymore. And that was kind of the key to me finding the willingness to do whatever it took. And during the 7 years that I was in the fellowships, in the rooms, going to meetings all the time, you know, I was taking all of this wisdom and everything and thinking, you know, I'm going to get recovery from osmosis, you know, like listening to everybody. And I don't know why I was missing whatever message I was missing. But that day I started the 12 steps. I went to the Bible study. I dropped down on my knees and just gave my life over to God. That was my third step, you know, and then kept going to the meetings. But then I actually read the big book, and I have my big book right here. And the funny thing is it's like, it's kind of falling apart, you know? But the funny thing is, can you see how it's kind of, can you see how it's kind of warped?
Yeah.
A little bit. So one time, I tried crack once for like 2 months. And
Hell yeah.
And I did not want to be there anymore. So I picked up this big book and I smoked crack and was drinking a tall boy and read the big book. And at one point I spilled my tall boy on my big book, and I still have that big book today. But since the day I started the steps, I have not drank or used. I also had a profound experience around 5 days clean and sober when I met Jesus face to face. But I kind of keep that story, you know, at a place where people know they don't have to have that kind of experience to find recovery. Right. You don't have to have some profound experience to find it, because I still was withdrawing, still was craving everything after I had this experience with Jesus. And the only thing that actually, you know, kept me away from the obsession and the cravings and feeling those withdrawals was while I was actually sitting down and doing the step work. So I did my steps super fast. On day 25, I did my first ever 5th step. On day 26, my sponsor came and picked me up like he was every single morning from the sober living house I was in. And he picked me up and we headed to the movie theater that he managed to do the work in the basement in his 1983 mailman Jeep. And we're on our way there. I'm looking over at this beautiful sunrise. And for the first time since I was 12 years old, I had no desire to drink or use. Since I was 12 years old, when I was first given cocaine, every single day, I was thinking about drugs, alcohol, getting high, partying, doing something to change the way that I feel. And after that event, when I was 19, because I was doing it so early to party and change the way I feel to have fun, then it became my solution to everything. And then all of a sudden I found this new solution by doing the steps, and I was off. I just wanted to go. I wanted to do everything that was possible that God had given everyone, you, me, everyone on this live, everybody that watches the replay. God gave us each a unique and special gift of life. And I wanted to start seeing what's possible when we recover. So on day 30, and I was keeping journals every single day, every day. And what I would do is write 3 amazing things that could happen today, 3 things I'm grateful for, and then a letter to God. And on my day 30, it was the first time I'd ever had 30 days clean and sober since I was 12. And I still have the journal from that day. And I'm like, God, I can't believe I got here. I have 30 days. You're amazing. I made it, God. I can't believe this. God, it would be amazing if I didn't smoke cigarettes anymore. And I want to show people that it's possible to stop drinking, stop using and smoking, and never have to go back to it. And I haven't had a drag of a cigarette since day 30. 8 days after that, I hopped on a treadmill just because I wanted to see what I was capable of and what God would let me do. And I ran a mile in 7 minutes and 18 seconds. And then over the pandemic, because I had this goal. I wrote down a goal on my whiteboard. In 6 months, I want to beat the 6-minute mile. And I wrote that in like October of 2019, something like that. And then during the pandemic, I went out and ran a 5-minute and 57-second mile. And I hate running, bro. And sis, I hate running. but I know that it's good for me to do things that I hate doing because they're good for me, you know? And I've learned that in my recovery, and learned that that's something that I want to stand by. And November 6th of 2019, I've done kind of something special for my sobriety date every year to try to give back. The first year I released a poem that meant a lot to me. The second year, on November 6th, 2019, I published my book, From Chains to Saved, One Man's Journey Through the Spiritual Realm of Addiction. And it's been a really, really, it became a #1 bestseller in a few categories. And at this point, you know, it's sold a few thousand copies, but the cool thing is I've actually been able to give away, I don't even know how many copies now. I was giving away paperbacks, sending them to followers, like people in early recovery, signing them and stuff. I still get pictures from people sent to me that have a signed book for me and the date and everything. And now I give away a digital and audio copy. And what I found is that the power of a recovery story is life-saving for people. I've never thought once that my story is like uniquely special in, like, if I was to compare it, right? I don't think that I have something, you know, that works for everybody either, because some people, they can't, if they hear Jesus in a story, they're like, yeah, not for me. And once I started realizing that how powerful a recovery story is, once these emails start coming in and these messages from people from this book, I'm like, holy cow, like recovery stories need to get out. Yeah. So I started Recovered on Purpose. And I started coaching and training addicts in recovery to get their stories out. And in 2020, we launched 3 books, and I helped somebody else launch a book also, but it wasn't under Recovered on Purpose. And the first one, Brittany Priestley, her book is called Mommy Drunkest. And during her alcoholism, she, you know, caught some charges a few times, and she had to basically be prosecuted by the same DA every single time. And when she got recovered and then she published her book, that same DA bought a box of her books and gives her book to women that he's prosecuting that are in the same situation that she was in. Man, that's the power of
wow.
That's the power of a recovery story.
That is so cool, dude.
Yeah. And we just launched another one on October 2nd. Crystal Lavender, and hers is called Say You Love. And, you know, she actually came and saw me speak for her first time ever at a 12-step meeting. She had been following me, and I went down to where she was at, like close to her, spoke at this 12-step meeting. She decided that night to get clean. She hasn't used since. And then she published her book October 2nd. And a few days later, she sends me a screenshot of a message that she got of someone that read her book, was extremely touched, related to it completely. And she had just messaged her after getting into a treatment center that she's starting on Monday. And it was on like a Friday or Saturday. And that's what I believe. I believe that us addicts in recovery, we have to be willing to humble ourselves enough to let others know that they're not alone, because they're not alone, bro. The amount of stories like that are out there. I didn't go through certain things in my childhood that a lot of people went through. And there's 33% of addicts in recovery that didn't have those kinds of traumas. And then there's certain things that, like, people think that they're alone in things that they went through. And you sharing your story is what makes them feel like, oh, I can actually get clean too. So as a community, we got to just keep rising up, keep sharing our stories, keep getting out there and helping people. Because, you know, there's doctors and everybody's helping. I love the churches, love the doctors, love the therapists, love the treatment centers, but ain't nobody going to solve this thing better than us, bro.
Right?
Ain't nobody going to solve this better than us.
Amen.
And we need all the stories because somebody's going to relate to you that doesn't relate to me. Somebody will relate to me that doesn't relate to Brett. Somebody will relate to Jason that doesn't relate to me. Or there'll be something in each of our stories that somebody with a completely different story will relate to. So it's a matter of, that's one of the things I've learned from telling my stories. I didn't think it was important because I didn't think it was super dramatic or, overcome the stuff I'd seen other people. And it's sometimes the things that you don't think are such a big deal are what actually people relate to and they learn from. So everyone needs to tell their story. I completely agree.
Exactly.
Yes. Dude, my head is swimming, bro. I'm like, that, I seem speechless, but really it's because I don't know what to say first. It's like, just hearing it, and I'm sure that's most definitely the Reader's Digest version of your story, but so many things are related to in your story. I mean, there was a couple moments where I'm like, bro, you're telling my story, you know what I mean? And that's cool because that don't happen every day. I mean, we all have the same kind of like parallels in our stories, same devils, different levels, but like you really walked like the same path in a lot of respects as I did. And man, I'm proud of you for getting it together and grateful that you too, like myself, have found the power of sharing your story. I think when I first shared my story, I felt super nervous, but I felt like compelled to do it. So even though I was like, part of me was saying, hell no, dude, I still just did it. And then, all of a sudden it was like doors of opportunity opening to keep doing more of that. And, the feeling you get is incredible, but not until you do the work, obviously, because I tried it before I did the work, and it was just like I ripped open every wound and I was just bleeding out all over the place or something. But
Yeah,
man, so what is Recovered on Purpose? Is it like a publishing thing or what?
so it's actually a nonprofit, and our mission is to equip and empower addicts in recovery to share their stories, to help addicts recover, to help addicts suffering find recovery, and to share our experiences in the school system to deter the future generations from going down the path of addiction.
Yeah.
And I do this through coaching. I have a digital course called Recovery Speaker that's out right now. And
Gotcha.
when I wrote my book, the story behind it is September 28th of 2019, September 28th of, my freshman year, 2008. It's weird how dates work like that for us.
Right.
But I was at a conference for how to bring God into business. I was doing really well in this other business for healthcare marketing. And I felt empty and alone, because I was making all this money, but I felt like my purpose was missing. I was like, if this is what recovery is about, like, I don't even know if I want this. And I went out to this conference, and while I'm sitting there, I'm in the front row. The first night, Jesus Culture is playing on the stage, and I'm like worshiping. I know nobody out there, just went out there on a whim. And I heard God's voice whisper, into my heart. And he said, your new company is called Recovered on Purpose. And I looked up, I was like, that's good. Like pulled out my phone and I got on the Secretary of State and got the domain name and everything. And I was like, dang, that's mine. Okay, cool. Next day, I'm in the crowd, and someone came up and started talking about writing a book. And he's like giving some maps out of it and stuff, and like talking about his story. And I heard that voice again. If you publish your book for your 2 years clean and sober, you're going to inspire so many others to do the same. I was like, my 2 years clean and sober. I was like, carry the 2, that's 5 weeks from now. So I went home, and like we were talking
start
about,
writing.
yeah, I better start. And I went home, and I told my business partners, hey, I need some time for you guys to do this. I'm gonna be working on something, and put my phone away, and I just sat down and wrote. But before I was able to sit down and write, I had to, figure out what I was going to write, because all of us here, we have, tons of experiences, tons of stories that we could share in a book. So if I just sit down and write, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm never going to have an end. So what I did was I wrote out everything. I did a mind dump. So I dumped out everything out of my mind. And then I thought about what message I actually want to portray within my story. And the message I wanted to portray to people was the reality of the spiritual realm. And I wanted to share my testimony of Jesus. So then I picked from the stories of my life that would actually point to that message. And then I mapped them out before I actually started writing my book. And then, so I have this checklist of stories that I'm going to put into my book to get this specific message. And then I just sat down and I wrote the stories. Boom. And the weird thing was that God was doing at the time that I didn't realize is that he was giving me a blueprint for any addict in recovery to put their story in this blueprint and be able to tell a message exactly how they want to tell it from the exact experiences and stories in their life that will tell that message. So I've been working on that, and that's what my coaching program is. That's what I share with addicts, because we've all been to speaker meetings where, they talk a lot about war stories, and it goes for a while about war stories. And I love, and just to be clear, I love every single person. And I've had one problem with one person in a fellowship and made my amends to him. He still doesn't like me for whatever reason, but we're good. But then there's also these speakers that just do it right, bro. Like when you hear them, it's just like, oh my gosh, like I need to do what he's doing. I need to do what he's doing. And I'm just thinking, like, so many addicts have stories that are incredible. They're incredible. They just haven't had the opportunity to do, I've done a lot of programs. I've done coaching programs for speaking, for writing books, for business, for networking, things like that. And I was like, how can I take all of this opportunity that I got and bring it into our community? Because nobody's doing it for our community, and our community has just as much a right to have opportunity to grow and progress in their life outside of recovery also. Because we have 12-step fellowships, we have forums and things, we have magazines, we have all these places that we can connect as it regards to addiction recovery specifically. But what about our life over here? What about the life, our dreams? What about our goals? What about our passions? And that's the number one relapse prevention: relationship with God and helping others. Purpose, living with passion, living with that fire in you to help other people, And I'm just looking for more and more ways to make it so that addicts in recovery can continue to level up in their life in whatever area they want, and live a great life. There's tons of us, bro. So much talent. So much talent. Yeah.
Well, I often say people in recovery are the most amazing individuals, like special,
100%.
And it's true. I see it all around me all the time, dude. So I love this. I love what you're doing. That's amazing, dude. Just build them up, empower them. You gave me God bumps like 3 times.
Amen.
We just started. This is good. Thank you.
Well, God says that. Yeah, go ahead. God says that wherever 2 or more are gathered, he's in their midst. If we're gathered in his name, he's in our midst. So the cool thing is where are you all at? I know, Ashley, you're in Florida. Jason, where are you at?
Minnesota.
Brett, where are you at?
Texas.
I'm in Medellin, Colombia right now. And we are in a meeting online right now. There's people from who knows where watching. Right. And during this time, God is with each and every one of us at the same moment. And that's the beautiful thing about the state of the internet and the state of technology and the things that we're able to do now. Bro, they were sending this in the mail at the beginning. Yeah. And letters in the mail for people to find recovery. Right. And now we have all of these tools. People getting sober by watching TikTok videos of influencers about recovery. Come on, bro.
Dude, that when I went MINAC, this last MINAC that we had, that's the Narcotics Anonymous convention, they had one of the topics in one of the breakout rooms was getting clean on the screen. And I thought it was a football reference at first until I started listening to the speaker. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But I was forgetting that, some motherfuckers that are brand new to this during COVID, and that's all there was like
Yeah.
Zoom meetings, right? And people were still getting clean on the screen. So that's another testament to the power of the story. And I think it's so great to find that purpose in your life, dude, like you're talking about. um it's just amazing. Like when you feel purpose in your life, then you just feel so full of gratitude, and it's hard to like let life beat you down anymore. You got too much to be thankful for. And you
Amen.
got too much work to do. There's so many people out there struggling, and that if I can reach one, if I can just teach one.
Yeah.
So I love what you're doing, man. This is super exciting to listen to, actually. And then, you know what's funny? You mentioned the thing about the dates, and I was thinking about how my birthday is
Yes.
now my clean date, and it wasn't even the whole plan was to get fucked up. and then I couldn't even just hang out and party on my birthday
Yeah.
because of the night before. Even though it was a little bit, it was still enough where I was like, I don't want to be doing this, man. All that recovery stuff done got in my head. And then what else were you talking about? You said, oh yeah, you mentioned Jesus culture, and I was thinking that's weird because when you talked about, you didn't really talk about it, but you said you had like a really powerful, profound experience with Jesus. And I had a similar thing happen to me, and it was weird because the whole sermon was about fatherhood, and it like that cut to the deepest levels of shame that I carried with my kids, my two oldest kids that I still haven't seen. They're 24 and 22 now. They were 1 and 3 when I left. And that's something that I almost killed myself over numerous times, and just the shame kept me in that cycle. And this dude's talking all about fatherhood, man. And then it beat me. It just took me. And then he did an altar call, which I ended up I became a member of that church. I started a recovery ministry there. I led the baptism team there. I did all these things for years after that at this church. And I never once ever again seen somebody do an altar call. This is the only time. And I went up there, and something told me to stop. And I was like, no, screw that. And I just went because I just thought about how they say in recovery, like everything you want is on the other side of fear. You got to step into discomfort. You got to get out of your comfort zone. So I just went up there, man, and I bawled, and they were playing, Oh Come to the Altar. Oh, wait, that's Jesus culture, right?
I think they do one. Yeah,
dude. So when you said Jesus culture, I'm like, yeah, I'm just like feeling super simpatico right now with this whole conversation, what you're doing, your journey, this whole thing. It's like, we don't have that many guests on here but like it's speaking to me personally. So I'm getting the God bumps like over and over. It's pretty cool. Pretty dope.
Love you too, Jason.
Love you, bro. You're my new bestie.
Yeah. And the experience that I found with Jesus is that anyone is able to build a relationship with him, even if you're a pre-believer. That's what I call people that haven't come to know him yet. Because in my recovery, I've sponsored all different kinds of people, and I've only sponsored I think 2 Christians out of the over 15 people that I've sponsored. And during that time, I've even sponsored atheists. And what I think is beautiful about us in recovery is that if we can put away our belief that we are right, and we can let God show up, the profound experiences that addicts seeking recovery can have when everybody comes from a humble position is incredible, man. I remember I was sitting at a cafe with one of my sponsees who was an atheist, and we're reading through We Agnostics. And as we're going through that, during it, he would like point at something and interrupt me and be like, "That's crap," da 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 da, and say what he had to say because he just does not believe in God. And then at this one moment, he goes to do that, and he has his hand up like this, and he goes to point down, and then he looks up at me and says, "Bro, I feel him." And he like looks around, he's like, "I feel him, bro." And that's the power of 2 addicts coming together and seeking, recovery in God. And that's what I think has been taken out a lot of, the work that we do, because I'm 100% believer that an addict needs a higher power. An addict needs God. And I don't think we should run away from the word God, because, there is God. There's, it's impossible to ignore when we look around and people like you and me, if you have a similar experience to me with addiction, we don't make it. We don't make it. So for us to edge him out of the conversation is a little bit, we can't do that anymore. But I love my people. I love my people so much, man. And it's been a journey with, doing the work that I do, because I get a lot of support, a ton of support. And then every once in a while, there's got to be someone that drops in some hate. There has to be. And I made a decision a while ago that I'm going to respond to every message I ever get. And I'm always going to respond with love. And I'm always going to do my best to find out why or understand that person. And by doing that, I've actually gotten to places with people that intended to harm, right? They started off by hating on me because I'm selling a course to people in recovery. They're like, "Oh, you're profiting off of addiction, you're profiting off of people's lows." I'm like, "No, I'm not. That is not what I'm doing at all." But instead of like responding like that, I respond with, "Thank you for caring about our community enough to say that with your name on the post," And then I say, "Hey, would you mind sending me a DM so we can have a conversation?" And bro, this has happened on a few different occasions where, I go through this conversation with this person and I understand where they're coming from. There's hundreds of treatment centers with 3% success rates charging us $30,000 a month for treatment. Yet that's not in the conversation. And I love my brothers and sisters that are in treatment that have the heart to serve. But there's so much opportunity in life for us, and we don't need to be hiding behind the fact that we have a past identity of an addict. I don't believe we have to have an identity of being an addict for the rest of our lives. If I say, the only time I refer to myself as that is I say I'm a recovered addict. Like, yeah, five years ago, I was homeless and addicted to IV, heroin, meth, and I smoked a little crack for a little while, But now in my recovery, I'm a totally different person. And I think that all of us in recovery should take that on. We should take on becoming the person that drugs took away from us. Like, drugs are from the enemy. Drugs are evil. If you're an addict, drugs took something from you that in recovery, you have the power to not only take back, but take back 7 times what drugs took from you. And there's no reason for us not to attach to that belief, because it's true. God didn't save you from addiction just to have the dash on your tombstone be, "I got clean." That is not supposed to be the dash on your tombstone. There are people out there for you to serve. There's friends for you to make. There's connections for you to make. That business you want to do it. That book you want to write, do it. The speech you want to give, the podcast you want to start, the page you want to start and start doing lives. Whatever it is that your dream is, go do it. Because now you don't have that monkey holding you back, telling you can't. But a lot of us got this mindset in our addiction that we can't do it. And I'm guilty. I am guilty, bro. Because for so many years in my addiction, I was unable to do anything I set my mind to. And I had all these big dreams and big aspirations. I was a door-to-door salesman and was really good at it. And I would write all these goals down and everything, and the credit score I wanted to have and the motorcycle I wanted to have and all these things. And then it all went into my arm. So how am I supposed to trust myself? But in recovery, what I found is that I'm a different person now. So all of that limiting belief, all of that garbage that the enemy put into me through drugs and alcohol, I can delete that and move forward now. And I believe that every addict in recovery not only has the capability of doing that, but has the responsibility to do that. You have the responsibility to live the life that you've been given, you know? And
can't is the real C word, man.
yes. Yes. Amen. And I think that if we would live our recovery as if every move that we're making is something that is going to attract an addict suffering to recovery, we would live differently. Like, it's not just about going to a meeting and saying, yeah, I'm clean now. I've been clean for 4.5 years because I did the steps and things. And that's a good message. It's a solid message. Also, these are the blessings I've gotten in my recovery. Before when I was addicted, I lost my job. I wasn't, my credit score was a 421 credit score. And in my recovery, I've been able to build my credit to 780. That's an attractive thing to somebody that's suffering. Like, come on, man. And people say that you shouldn't talk about that. I mean, I've heard this before. People say you shouldn't talk about all those things you're getting in your recovery because addicts will think that they'll get that if they stop using drugs. But that's not the point of sharing that you've gotten certain things. The point is to say, like, I've done work, and me doing this work has blessed me to be able to grow this and this and this and this in my life. So if you do the 12 steps, you're able to get clean. Or if you do MAT, or if you do this path of recovery, whatever your path of recovery that you took, if you do that, and then you work on yourself also, all of that stuff, those desires in your heart are 100% yours. Desire actually comes from a word of the Father. So if you have a dream in your heart, something that you want in your life, in your recovery, God is telling you that it's already yours. You just have to do the steps to take to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the same opportunities and the same potential. And a lot of us, I've met addicts that blow me away. Intelligence, musical talent, artistic talent. Crystal's book, her writing, way better than mine. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people that I can build up to be better than me, because then if there were 10,000 of us, 10,000 of these pages right here, going live all the time, talking about recovery, talking about motivation and how to get recovered and all this different stuff. If there were that many of us doing this constantly, the addict out there suffering would never be without the message that would get them sober, ever.
The word that comes to mind that as you were sharing just then was possibility. Like, once we stop using, the possibilities are endless.
Yes. Amen. Amen. I agree.
The first thing too is write down, like I said in the comments, write down what your goal is, because once you put it on paper, you can see it. That's why there's vision boards and there's all kinds of stuff. And I know it sounds like voodoo and mumbo jumbo, but it's really like seeing your dream on paper or seeing a goal on paper makes it real. And then you can look back at it. And it's amazing when you go back and look where you've come, even when you don't feel like you're going anywhere.
100%.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like how can we sometimes feel like we're spinning our wheels and we're getting nowhere, but all we have to do is take a minute to reflect on the journey behind us. And it's like, wow, because I remember when, I was praying for things that I like crushed those goals so long ago, and I've since I've achieved things that I never thought was possible. You were talking about that can't thing, man. It's like I have shattered so many of those illusions in my mind about things that I can't do, that I told myself forever that I couldn't do. And now it's like either I've already crushed those goals that I didn't even know I had, you know what I mean? But that's the kind of stuff that made me start to realize that I can make goals. I can crush goals. I can do things that I didn't think I could do. I can do anything, and sky's the limit, and it's so cool and refreshing to have this new you know, vibrance, I guess, you know, in my spirit, where I'm like enthusiastic and I want to go after it. I do. And I'm just like grateful the whole way, regardless of the outcome, whatever. I'm just so thankful that I feel like I am walking in my purpose and I have something to offer the world, you know, like of value, you know, other than a sack of dope, you know. So, I mean, shit. It's crazy,
bro. We used to think, I don't know if there were any other drug dealers on this, but at a certain point, I stopped selling drugs when I was 22. But until that point, for some reason, I thought I was helping people. I thought that selling these drugs to people, that you know, giving them, you know, the things that they want, these good feelings and getting high and rolling balls. And then when I had a prescription, you know, I had to make some amends to people that I gave drugs to, you know. Yeah. And if anybody, and switching back to something you said, talking about goals and things, I have a free relapse prevention worksheet. And part of what I do with the relapse prevention worksheet, we get clear on where we came from, because I don't know about you guys, but I've been clean and sober 5 years on November 6th. And if I don't remember, I'm really lucky to have a video of myself overdosed. But if I don't keep clear how bad it was, you know, maybe a drink might sound good someday, you know, and I just want to have that completely smashed forever. I'm pretty sure I smashed it, but I keep that smashed, you know.
Hell yeah.
But we go through that to make sure you're clear on where you come from. And then basically the whole thing is getting your mind right in your recovery to set those goals, to find out what you want to do with your life. I have certain exercises where we can pull out what your actual dreams are, and we can make them, you know, come back into reality now. Because most dreams that we have are attached to some kind of feeling and thought that we want to have, that are either intrinsic or extrinsic. Either we want to, you know, feel like we're successful, or we want to have something in order to get this certain feeling, right? Usually a far off dream has some kind of feeling attached to it. And if we can get clear on what that is, on what that feeling, what that thought is, and we keep that vision, we actually want that dream, we want to make that come happen. But if we can get those feelings and those thoughts into us now, we can start living as if we're there now, and we can do the right steps, because we're already feeling like, yeah, man, like I'm successful, I'm happy, I'm going towards my dream, I'm doing this. Like, bro, I was talking to this girl like 4 or 5 weeks ago. She was in my program, and she wanted to do this addictions counselor certification. She wanted to go to school for it and everything. And she'd been thinking about it for a while. And I was like, got it. So why haven't you? And she's like, well, this and this. And I would have to do this. I would have to do this. I would have to do this. I'm like, everything going on in your head right now, all of that is because the hardest part is getting past the thought process about what you have to do to take the first step. As soon as somebody takes the first step towards their dream, towards their goal, towards what they want to do, the path is already started. You already know that you're going. So like a couple days later, she hits me up. She's like, hey, I registered. And it was actually way easier than I thought. I was like, I know. And then here she is. She starts in next month with this certification course.
Yep. I always say that, you know, the first step is the hardest. And to your point about the relapse prevention sheet you said that you have as a free resource on your website, like I'm definitely going to check that out. And hook up one of my sponsies with, because he's been, you know, chronic relapse and you know, it's like he wants to work the steps, and I keep telling him we got to work on this relapse prevention stuff. I already gave him a book and told him to make a relapse prevention plan, but maybe that would help him kind of kick it into gear if I give him a worksheet. I hope it works. But it's something to try. And I'm like, hell yeah. It's just people don't understand. Like, I know for me, my sponsor, he made me do relapse prevention stuff before we did step work. And I guarantee you that that information, it kicked in, like that training kicked in for me on a lot of occasions. I don't think that I could have, sustained it for long enough till I felt like I was on a solid footing without it. Like I needed that relapse prevention bad. I needed to learn it bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Call us. Who wants to call us? Call in live. Let's talk.
I'm
I'm
about
going
to
to
call.
play devil's advocate here a little bit with you, Jason,
Oh,
because
yeah?
you know how I do this.
Do it.
So I completely agree that the relapse prevention is super important.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's dragging his feet on the relapse prevention and he's really excited about the steps, maybe just get started on the steps. Because
We did that. We did that already.
Oh, okay.
We did that already, and then it was not for nothing. And then I was like, all right, well, don't fret. Like we can, if you still want to work with me, then I'm still here for you. And so then I got him this book that was the same book that my sponsor gave me the, first day we met. And I told him, just read this and then make a relapse prevention plan. It's an easy read. It's not a super huge book. He could have pumped it out pretty quick. And he didn't call for a while. And then when he did, he was just basically saying that he was into the old habits, and he didn't want to let me down. So he didn't want to tell me. I'm like, bro, I already knew something was going on because you weren't calling no more. You don't go from calling me all the time to be like ghosting me out, like he disappeared off the face of the planet. I knew something was up. Like he ain't fooling nobody. And I ain't judging. So I said, you can call me anytime.
It wasn't clear. I thought that's what you were trying to get him to do, a relapse prevention before you started to do the steps.
Yeah, this is because we've done that already. And then it was seemingly going very well. And then he relapsed and continued to choose to relapse. So I was like, we need to confront this relapse issue. And then we can take another crack at the steps. Yeah.
Yep.
That was all. That was what happened.
I think that, I think there has to be a profound foundation of recovery in order for relapse prevention to work. In my personal opinion, I think that I would love him to do this, and I would love him to find what's going to make it so that he does the steps and makes them stick. I also believe that, we have to have something that frees us from the obsession, because that obsession is a killer. And for me, the only thing that worked, bro, I was coached by, high level people in my addiction trying to get something going, and I couldn't do it. I was, going to church and begging for help and all this different stuff. And the only thing that worked for me was when I actually did these steps quickly with all of the extra time I had. And another thing is, what I ask my sponsees is, if there's anything that you don't want to tell me from your history, from your story, I need you to write it down on a piece of paper. And then if you still don't want to tell me, we need to find you a sponsor that you can feel comfortable talking to about it. I haven't had anybody that
that's critical.
It's critical. And that's what usually keeps people, drinking and using and relapsing. And in reality, a relapse only counts if it's over 30 days. A relapse is over 30 days of continuous sobriety and then going back. So people used to call me a chronic relapser, but I never relapsed. I just couldn't get clean.
Right.
Dude, I made it like 18 days once. And one time I made it like 63 days, but I didn't realize you couldn't drink and smoke weed.
So you thought you made it 63 days. That's like what I was doing when I first started. Yeah.
I was like, I'm not jamming heroin in my arm.
Exactly. What the hell do you mean? Like, this shouldn't count. Yeah, I laugh about it now.
You can go back and do the steps again, more detailed. Sometimes, like, people just need to achieve something. Like, if he's never made it all the way through, maybe that would be huge for his self-esteem.
Ding, ding, ding. Ding, ding. The steps were literally the first thing I had in my adult life, the first thing that I had said I was going to do and completed.
Hell yeah.
And now I've done them 5 times in my recovery. And I don't even know how many times with other people. You know, I was having a hard time emotionally, I would say, about 6 weeks ago. And I know what the solution is for me. I need to go find someone struggling with addiction, you know, and someone personally. I help people on digitally and everything all the time. I'm messaging and I respond to every single message, respond to every single email personally. But there's something that happens when you actually like are face to face with someone struggling and you take them through the work. And for the first time, I took someone through the work in 2.5 days, all the way through. And it's a female. People say you shouldn't, like, men should sponsor men, females should sponsor females. And I 100% agree with that. If the sponsor considering sponsoring somebody of the opposite sex is not in spiritual condition to do it, because
Right.
it's very, very dangerous. But what we did, she didn't believe in God before, bro. She didn't even believe in God. And the second day, she's crying like, oh my gosh, like I actually like, I feel it. I see what this is. I understand. And bro, and she's doing great, you know, making amends. And it's an amazing, amazing feeling, bro. And what I tell sponsees also when I start with them is I'm not doing this to get you sober. Like, that is not my goal. My goal is to get you to a place to help other people get sober. Because if the goal is to get them sober, we're going to fail, bro. We're going to fail. We're going to put it on ourselves, you know. And what I've found is that if we can put a goal in mind of someone in early recovery, like, hey, if you do this, you'll be able to help other people do this. You'll be able to help other people that are struggling. Because when I was sick, I always had the heart that I wanted to help addicts, bro. But I was preaching in a trap house, banging meth in my arm, and I was like, guys, we need to get clean. We all need to get clean, like, you know, shooting up. But so you can't do it if you're high. But I mean, you guys know the hearts of addicts. Even in our addiction, we want to help other addicts. So that's something I use. Anybody can take it or leave it. But yeah. Good little motivator. That's basically all of my relapse prevention, all of my recovery techniques. Everything is being present, but also looking forward to something. And we can't look in the past. We just can't do it anymore. We have to go through the process of releasing it, but we can't look back at who we were, because that brings that person up to now. And there's a way that we can look at ourselves in the future and pull ourselves to that person now. There's a different way to think about the future that can make us anxious if we're afraid we're going to not be able to pay our bills, or how am I going to do this, or how am I going to do that? Like, no, that's not the way you look into the future. The way you look into the future is, okay, like, who do I want to be? Who is my ideal self? How would they act? How would they feel? How would they think? What would they do today? You know, what do they have? And you start just envisioning it and start thinking about yourself there. And then when you start feeling that, and you actually get this clear picture, then you come back to today. You say, okay, if I'm going there, what do I have to do today? Like, today, what do I have to do to step towards that? And if we could do that on a semi-regular basis, even a semi-regular basis, like once a month, doing some kind of visionary work, the amount of clarity that God will give us on our purpose is, like, you can't even imagine it. Can't imagine it. And a vision board is a real thing. Like, I had, and because of all the different, you know, voodoo-y type things that can happen with vision boarding, in the middle of mine was a picture of Jesus and my Bible. I'm like, this is my number one here. And then these are the things that I want Jesus to help me with, and I want, you know, to bring Jesus into. And on my vision board, I had a stage of a TED Talk. I just had this empty TED Talk stage. And I actually have a TED Talk booked for October of 2023 now.
Nice.
And these kinds of things really happen if we, keep them here and keep them here and do what we need to do now,
So I'll put it like in a different perspective too. I'll say the same thing. So Brett, you're a parent. I'm a parent. Jason, I don't know if you are, but when you think about when you have a child, you want them to eventually move out of the house or say, well, do even potty training. So what do you do to get them ready for potty training? You have steps and you talk about it, and your goal is to get them potty trained. You know what it is. So it's, I don't know.
You are speaking my language right now. Actually, we have been on the potty training, the beginnings of potty training since Monday. So
congratulations.
I am vibing with you 100% on the stages. Stage 1 right now that we're working on is not to be afraid of the potty. The potty is not a monster. The potty will not hurt you. It's okay to sit on it.
Yeah.
Aww.
Just because there's a hole in it.
Sit on it. Like there's people that give M&Ms or they give this candy or that candy. Just if you go in there, the next time it's up, you get a lollipop if you pee in the potty. Like there's different things you have to do that, but it's, you have to know that you want them to be able to one day go to the bathroom by themselves, and even further be able to go and wipe themselves and all that stuff too. So you talk them through this stuff way before they're ever ready to actually do it, because it sets this tone.
Yeah, I'm so far beyond that, man. My youngest is 10. I'm done having kids too, so.
But what's your goal? Is that one day he'll be able to be on his own or productive or be able to live life on his terms. So you teach him this or you teach him that so that he can move out one day, or so that whether he goes to college or you prepare, you teach them how to do laundry maybe so that they can wash their own clothes one day. You
know what's the best is when I can share the principles that I've learned to live my life by, and capitalize on teachable moments where they apply, because they apply everywhere, and it's just great to be able to teach him things that, I wish that people would have taught me when I was a kid. I think life could have been so much different, but grateful I learned them when I was, 36 years old and beyond. And it's done wonders for my life, obviously, just even that late in the game. But to be able to instill some of those traits into him at his young age, and he's got such a big heart, you know what I mean? And it's good. It really feels so good to be able to impart the wisdom to a child,
What's the goal? So you're putting that wisdom in because
I want to fucking raise my kid right. I don't know.
So that
because I want to be a good dad and teach him good things so that he can be a good person
and doesn't struggle with some of the stuff you had to struggle with.
Well, yeah, that's out of my control, and I know that's out of my control, because you can't put them in a bubble. They're still going to be young and impressionable, and they're still going to probably experiment at some point, because that's what human beings do. He's got his autonomy. I'm not trying to control the child. I just want to teach him good things, so that way when he hits walls, when he has difficulties, or when he does try things that get out of hand, that he will have wisdom to fall back on, or that he'll know that he can come to me, because we can talk about anything, because we talk about, deep things. And that's what I want. I want my son to know that I'm here for him no matter what and always, regardless of how he chooses to walk his path, because that's his path, not mine.
So everything you're doing now is building up to that goal of giving him the
tools to live a healthy life. He's gonna make mistakes.
That he's supported and loved. So everything you're doing now builds up to that goal.
Hell yeah. And then you know what? If I instill those qualities into him, he's going to take that with him everywhere he goes. Just like in the rooms of recovery, it says, that we got to practice these principles in all our affairs, right? We take it out into the streets. We bring it in shoe leather. And he's going to do that same shit that we had to go work a program after we went to 13 treatments or whatever and almost died of an OD and fucking lost everything to my name and literally wanted to kill myself. And then God answers my plea for help when I was asking for help to kill myself with a different kind of help, right? God lifted me out of that. And he'll be able to like take all of that, all those gifts that we got as a result of our own gifts of desperation, right? And he'll have them just instilled in him because it's part of what I'm, trying to teach him as a dad, just because I want him to have the tools to cope with life that I never had,
And something you said that, you want to give him the tools and he has his autonomy, right? You want to love him. You want to give him wisdom. You want to teach him so that he can be that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such a heart of God. That's God's heart for each and every one of us.
Amen.
And I think that he absolutely has a purpose for each of us. He has a destiny for each of us. And he has a call for each of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that at certain seasons and at certain points, some of us can be asking him like, which way do I go? Do I go this way or do I do this or do I do this? Tell me what to do. But then in reality, what he's trying to tell you is you pick.
Yep.
You pick which one you want to do and I'm going with you. I'll be there for you. I'll always be there for you. And if you want to go that way, let's go.
Amen.
Sometimes that's God's answer is you pick.
Yep. Amen. I love it.
Awesome.
Goosebumps. He gave me the God bumps again, right? Oh,
I know Adam's got to go, so let's I guess let's wrap it up. Adam.
Oh
thanks for
yeah,
coming
you
on,
said
man.
you had double booked yourself for after this, so you got a
He's
tight
gotta go.
schedule.
So if we make him be late, he's going to be triple booked. We can't do that.
He's gonna
Well,
blame
dude,
us.
thanks for being here with us tonight, man. It's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit, and definitely try to connect with you and stay in touch, man.
Same. Let's do it. And let's do we can do an episode on the Recovered on Purpose show with us four. Let's plan one of those.
Nice.
That would be sweet.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. We can point people back and forth. And, I love what you guys are doing. I love the conversations. And, I think that we should inspire more and more people to do what we're doing. So love you guys. Keep it up. If you need anything, I'm always available. Answer every message. So would love to hear from you guys. Let's plan out that show on my platform.
Awesome.
All right, brother.
Let's do it.
Have
All
a
right,
good
guys.
night. God
Love you
bless.
guys.
Definitely.
Love you too.
recoveredonpurpose.com.
Yes, for the
Covered
relapse
on
prevention
purpose.
or a free digital and audio copy of your From Chains to Saved.
Spoken like a true spokesman. And I did put that link for the website in the comments. I wrote it in
Awesome.
one of my comments, so you
Awesome.
should be able to just click on it, guys and gals out there.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for coming today.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
See you,
Good
brother.
talking to y'all.
Absolutely.
All right. See ya.
Absolutely.
Bye.
All right. I guess we'll do the closing stuff.
Yeah.
Don't end the stream, Jason.
Nope, I ain't touching that ever again. Wow.
I think JR just jumped on. Welcome to the stream, JR. If you guys are joining us tonight on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you know when we go live, which is every Thursday night around 7 o'clock Central Time. We tend to be a few minutes late, like 7:05, 7:10, whatever, but we do our best. Yeah. Jason, you have a podcast, don't you, sir?
Yes, it's called the Way Out Podcast. It's about addiction, it's about alcoholism, but it's more importantly about sobriety and recovery. So you're going to hear personal, powerful recovery stories. And we even have some episodes that are strictly like topic based, where we really unpack some recovery power topics for you. So all the things that you need to hopefully find or rejuvenate your own recovery.
Nice. Highly recommend. Be sure to check out the Way Out podcast. I also do my own solo podcast called Recovery Survey. A little bite-sized episodes, usually about 30 minutes or so, sharing those recovery stories like we were talking about tonight on the live. It's so important to share our stories, and you never know who could hear your story and it could touch them, and it could just be that aha moment. So every week, new recovery story comes out on Recovery Survey, so check that out. We also release this live stream as a podcast, so if you can't sit here and watch us on Facebook or YouTube, but you want to hear the audio, you want to hear the conversation, search for Recovery Revolution Live on your favorite podcast player, and you can find it there. We thank everybody for coming and watching tonight, sharing, commenting. I would say calling, but nobody called in. That's all right. Maybe next week we'll get some callers in on the stream. But
I think you need to make a promo image or something that says like,
I
now
agree.
we have live phone line, and you can call.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, like, do you want to be an impromptu guest on Recovery Revolution Live? Just call us. Blah blah blah. Something. We got to get the word out.
We do.
I know. I don't know why more people don't do it. I get so many messages about people wanting to be guests. I'm like, here,
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for like 6 or 8 weeks because we're booked out pretty far.
Right, but you would be surprised, like, when it comes down to the wire to that moment, like, people get all scared and shit. Like, I would say that most people, when I am like, if I'm like, dude, you want to be a guest on the way out or something, most people are like, no, I'm good. They ain't even trying to do this and share their story because they're too nervous or whatever. So people get scared.
And some people have anxiety talking on the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
I know some folks, I'm not going to mention any names, but I know some people that get a little bit of anxiety when it comes to making phone calls. So I get it.
Oh, I hate making phone calls.
I do too, but I have to as part of my job. So I feel like I'm used to it at this point. I still don't enjoy it, but I do it.
Yeah, send me a text.
Right. I like that, Billy. I like that a lot.
It's funny because the only way that you can overcome it is by doing it. So you got to push through the fear. You got to get out of that comfort zone.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. What you have to say is exactly the thing that somebody out there needs to hear. Your voice matters.
Absolutely.
Right, Ashley?
Right.
Yeah. That's my radio voice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Well, everybody have a good night.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. And remember, progress, not perfection. See you guys next week.
Have a blessed week.
Have a good night.